Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Sandy.
Oh, sorry, I was muted.
You were like
I
this.
was really excited.
She just didn't want to talk above the guest. That's what it
I
was.
know.
That's
That's
what it
what it was.
was.
I was waiting for everybody to say hello so I could say happy Saturday, good morning,
I know,
and
that's funny.
welcome to another episode of Sandy Talk Sheet.
'Cause
And
that's what she
today,
does good.
I know, it's the story of my life. Today, I am talking sheet with Dr. Ben, better known as the Cologne Guy. Which one? I like them
Really?
all. Dr. Ben, the
I
Cologne
like
Guy.
that cologne guy.
You like
Yes.
TCG?
Yes. Oh, that's funny. So
we can just keep
welcome,
going.
Dr. Ben, that Cologne Guy. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I am happy to be here. How are you guys doing?
I am well. It is so windy this morning. It's unreal.
Really?
It really is. I
Yes.
went out about an hour ago, and it was like hailing, raining. Well, here as well. It was like hailing, raining, windy, everything. So I'm not really sure what's going on out there.
Really, we had like this crazy thunderstorm last night, lightning, and of course the dogs are all over the place, and no one's sleeping. So
Sure.
anyway, good morning, Joe Baker.
Joe Baker.
So, Jamie, how about you?
You
How are
know,
you this morning?
I'm pretty good. I had a miserable sleep for these last 3 days,
Hmm.
but then last night, so I made something really spectacular this week, and then last night we ate some of it, and it was really good. And so today we are getting ready to get up and at 'em, and not so much as a clean day, but get the house ready to sell day. So
That's so exciting, and it's a lot
Oh,
of
wow.
work. Oh my gosh! it's so much
yeah.
work.
Well, that's news to me. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we're looking to get out of this house. Wish we were looking to get out of Illinois, but not happening. So
Sure.
Well, darn it.
yeah, maybe next decade.
Well,
Right.
some of us are happy you're here in Illinois. So.
Thank you. I appreciate the people that appreciate me being here.
Good morning, Miss Joanne. It is a nasty day today.
Really. Oh, we're getting
So-
snow today, by the way.
Oh,
We are getting snow from about noon here in about an hour. Some wet and heavy snow from today till tomorrow. So I'm like,
oh, wow. Winter's holding
this
on.
is definitely
It is.
clean up the house weekend.
yeah.
So, Dr. Ben, tell us a little bit about you and when you became a true crime junkie.
So as we know from last week, I know you're not into scary movies. Right. So originally for me, I am a horror film buff. And so I like scary movies, love them. And then I actually stumbled upon this show, The Forensic Files, that we're going to talk about. That was the first one that I stumbled upon that I really, really liked, because I'm kind of the reverse from you in the sense that I like scary movies more. And I wasn't really much into true crime because I don't really like reenactment scenes and things like that so much, right? Or the focus on the violence, or the focus on kind of a lack of resolution, and like keep watching the show because nothing's ever really
For part 2.
yeah. I don't really care for those, and I love Forensic Files because of that, right? And because they kind of show their cards at the beginning of the episode, and then you have to figure out how they ended up catching the person based on what they've already found with the evidence. So I really got into it about maybe 10 years ago when I started to watch that show regularly, and I have been a faithful watcher ever since.
Yes. And I'm with you. That was one of the ones that when I'd come home, I just, relax, do everything. And then Forensic Files was on. And I mean, every now and then there was some that you're just like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what we're doing today. We're doing our top 5 wows. And anyway, I feel like with what you do, your YouTube channel, you kind of inspired the top 5. And really and truly, you when you said I love forensic, I'm like, that Cologne guy loves Forensic Files. Oh my gosh. And so that's what you do, your show, your YouTube, and then the Forensic Files. I'm like, we've got to do our top 5 most memorable.
I mean, who would have thought there's a connection? Because I was on you guys what three times now. that I've been on, and I've been on 2, and then I was on the kind of end of season with a bunch of the guests.
That's right. Yes, our season finale.
So and then so I was on because of Cologne, but we won't be talking Cologne today. So we're in uncharted waters. I feel like I should say something like talk about projection and longevity and sillage and how long things will last. But we are here to talk about true crime. So this is an exciting connection.
So awesome. So anyway, so what we did is we're going to take, and I tried to make it as brief as possible, but I'm long-winded. So we're going to do a brief synopsis of the case and what made it memorable for us. And hopefully we'll have, and you know what, we are going to have time because this is our show. So we're going to throw out some honorable mentions, some other ones that stuck out to us. So without further ado, Dr. Ben, let's start with your number 5 and then go down to our number 1s. And then Joe said ambergris is off limits today. It's never off limits. I brought it in last week, Joe, too.
She did. That's true. In fact, maybe I should go to the Forensic Files page and run a search on that word just to see if it somehow came up.
Oh, that's a good point.
In fact, what we should do in this episode is we should figure out, we should imagine what a Forensic Files narrated by Peter Thomas would be if ambergris were included and as part of the evidence. Well, can I start off with my honorable mentions first, or?
Yes, go for it.
Because I have a few of those actually.
Okay.
I will. I have 3, but I'll start off with the one that's season 1, episode 12. See, for me, Forensic Files gets better with each season.
Yes, I agree.
I have to admit, I'm not sure what you guys think, but for me, I don't mind when they were talking about, viruses, well, especially now during a pandemic, but when they were talking about more about those things, I didn't care for that as much as the crime element of it. And so this was one of the first ones that that really left an impact on me, and it was called The List Murders. And you probably remember, John List, right?
I did a show on him. Yes.
Really? Okay. Well, then I don't even. Yeah. So then, and really, the kicker of this episode to me is, he kills his family, he leaves. They find him after all these years. And then he did it because he didn't, he lost his job. He didn't want them to be financially off. So it occurred to him that it would be appropriate to, take them out. And then up, lo and behold, up in the attic of his house were millions of dollars worth of stained glass that he didn't know about. Yes. If he had just gone upstairs and checked, he had, or hundreds of thousands. It was very valuable stained glass up in his house.
That seems like some insider knowledge that only someone close to the incident would know.
Well, because he actually did go upstairs, but that was just to off his mother. Had he gone a level further, you're saying?
Correct. So to me, that one really stands out because of the, it's hard to watch, but then it's just excruciating even more when you realize that if he had just done a little bit more investigating about the house, he would have found a treasure trove worth of financial security for his family.
And Dr. Ben, so this is so funny because I was telling Eric about the premise. Eric is my husband. I was telling him about what we were going to do, and he said, and I said, you and I have not talked about what our top 5 are. I said, and he was like, wouldn't it be so funny if y'all had the matching ones? And I said, it's going to be great. I can't wait to hear if we have some. But so far in our honorable mentions, I do have the List family murders listed right now. So anyway.
The whole episode in itself, I can't say it's a top 5, but just the impact of knowing, right, that if he had just looked a little bit further, then it might have been a different story for John.
Yeah, I agree.
You want me to go again, or
go ahead. Yeah, do all of your honorable mentions, and then I'll follow you with mine.
Okay. The other one that was fascinating in terms of the forensic element was season 12, episode 9. It's either 9 or 19, and it's called Finger Pain. But it's the one where they find the fingerprint on the body. So they actually have to use tape to slowly remove the fingerprint off of the dead body, because that's the only episode I know where they actually have a finger or footprint actually on a corpse. And they talk about the whole episode about how they had to extract the fingerprint from a dead body. So that for me blew me away. And I think it's kind of a microcosm of the impact of the show when they have these incredible clues. I mean, fans of the show love that about the beginning, right? Well, they'll say 2 or 3 things that they found, and or different types of science used, and this is one of them.
Right. And so I saw one where they actually had a palm print. That was the only thing that they had, and it was on a sheet. And so to extract the palm print off of that sheet was, it was very difficult. And I don't remember what all methods that they used, but they were able to do that.
Right. And then, and also what's so fun about the show is it's 1996 to 2011. And so what's fun about it is it's kind of like all these crimes happen, right? And then technology catches up. Like police work catches up with the technology at hand, and they're able to solve crimes retroactively. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I agree. So Debbie says he didn't get his love for horror films from his mom. Hi, Mom.
He certainly did not. And it's funny. It's ironic that my daughter Natalia was here talking about it last week, because everyone assumes, right, it's because I like scary movies too. And you asked Sandy, about how, she convinced Mom and Dad to get her.
Yes.
Right? It was indeed a struggle, because you would think I'd be totally on board, but we're actually pretty conservative when it comes to that. So she's only seen 2 R-rated movies. That was one of them, because she loves it. She absolutely loves it so much. So we finally said, okay, if you love it that much, right? And then the second one is, and here is a real reach here, guys. This is a grade B 80s cheeseball movie that I absolutely love, which is called Gymkata. I don't know if you remember that one. Yeah, it's real. It's really down in the depths of geekdom. But that one's one. It's one of those. It's so awful that I love it kind of movies. It's a guilty pleasure.
Googling hands over there.
Yeah, no, it's a guilty pleasure. Gymkata rules, and so she has seen that one. But Mom and Dad wanted to come to our own defense in this episode and say, yeah, it's not. For a 12-and-a-half-year-old, she's not watching a lot of those kinds of movies.
Well, she needs to talk to my daughter, because my daughter has been asking too, and we are like staunch no. I have been like, nope. So if she could use, does she use her PowerPoint presentation to convince you to?
She does not. Wow.
Oh, okay.
That is
Eva is huge supporter of PowerPoints for us. And so she comes at it with here, and then here's a link to this mental health website. Here's a link to this practical thing, and here's that. And so it's not really, and we're like, no.
Thanks funny. For all that.
Yeah. It was interesting. There are interesting ones, but she does it for every topic. Like the last one we had was guinea pigs. Why she should have guinea pigs.
Oh my, guinea pigs.
Yeah. Anyway.
Good morning, Wanda. Thanks for popping in here.
And then my last one, by the way, was season 8, episode 10, and this one actually is more because of what it's known for. It got fame because in 1985-6, right around there was a made-for-TV show, a scary movie called Blackout. And it's about a guy who there's a murder that happens, and then he gets into this accident, and so he has amnesia. He doesn't remember anything about his previous life. And so there are 2 people in the car. So one dies, and then he has this amnesia, right? So they're trying to figure out if these guys are killers. So he comes out, he gets rehabilitated, he becomes this great citizen. He falls in love with the nurse that took care of him, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, so this movie is spawned from or drew inspiration for episode 8, season 8, episode 10, excuse me. It's called Dinner and a Movie. And that's the one where the guy, he kills his wife, and then he turns on the air conditioner, right, in the entire house so that the body is cool.
So the bodies won't decompose at a rapid speed.
I feel like this is a theme in some.
Because the Liz Family guy, he did that too.
Oh, that's
John
okay.
Did that.
That's where I remember that from.
So, and I think if I remember correctly, he goes on a cruise, and then he calls to check up on her, knowing she's not there.
Yes. And then
the girl
picks up her phone, and there's nobody on the other line.
There's no one on the other line. Yep. Wait,
that's
the one.
Wait. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I had to explain that one to me again because I'm like, wait, what?
Well, and I interrupted Dr. Ben because Dr. Ben was doing really good about it, explaining it.
So no, that's it.
Kills the wife. He pretends that he's talking to her just to kind of set a timeline on it, and then ends up. And so he calls her, but this little girl picks up the receiver and was like, "Well, there's nobody on the other end, so I wonder who he's talking to." But the whole time he's just setting his story in motion.
Yes, because he knows he's going to go sailing, and he knows that she won't be picking up the phone.
But wait, little girl picks up the phone?
Yeah,
well, they're on a yacht. They're on a yacht. And so he's like picking up and calling his wife in front of his friends to go ahead and establish an alibi. They were like, well, we saw him talking to his wife. We heard him talking to his wife. So they're on the yacht. He picks up the phone. Well, there's another receiver in another room. So she picks up the phone because she's going to make a phone call. And she looks and she hears him talking on the phone, but there's nobody on the other line.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense. So that one made it just because it's referenced with other films, and so those are my 3 honorable mentions.
Okay, so here are my 3 honorable mentions. So I'm going to start with number 1, and it's called Texas Suitcase Murders, and this one actually happened here in Lubbock. And what made this memorable for me was because I'd watched, I swear, every episode of Forensic Files, and here I am in Biloxi, Mississippi. I get to the hotel room, and what do? I turn on Forensic Files, hop on the bed, and all of a sudden I hear this one's, he said something about in Lubbock, Texas, and I'm like, what? And so, yes, this case was really...
Lubbock, Texas?
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. I was like, Eric, oh my gosh, this was in Lubbock. So yeah, and I wondered then, I'm like, do they just play those regionally, or maybe it was just an episode that I hadn't caught yet. Yeah, so anyway, Texas Case Murders, that was in Lubbock. And like I said, List Family Murders, that was also in my honorable mention.
Okay, so we've gotten at least one.
We have one. And then this is my very first one. I feel like I did a talk sheet on, and this is the Reina Marroquin. And this episode is called The Voice from Beyond. And the reason this stuck out and has always stuck with me is the guy kills her, leaves her in a barrel, and her mom is back in El Salvador. I can't remember where she's from. I think El Salvador. Yeah, and she's had this recurring dream that her daughter is in a barrel somewhere. And so that to me is always stuck in my head. So anyway, they go and tell her that they found her daughter. She dies a few months later. It's because she was holding on to be discovered. So that one's one of my faves of all time.
Okay, well, then I'll let the cat out of the bag and say that is tied for my number 5.
Is it?
Yes,
I love it. I love it.
Season 5, episode 4, A Voice
from Beyond. I really feel like maybe there was a conversation that was going on behind
the
scenes, right?
No. And I, as chatty as I am with you guys, she will tell you I stayed away this week. I tried hard.
You can go back to our messages because you have access to them. We had nothing. We're like, I even have it written down.
I tried to. Yep,
that's too funny though.
I love it. Okay, well, let's start.
That one, what I like about that episode too is not just the mom, but also the fact that they find her address book in the barrel with her.
Yes.
Right. So they have to figure out and they have to go back. That's the one where they have to look at the ink and figure out how to a way to investigate faded or wet ink to figure out who she knew and who she was. So it's kind of that's another great one. So, all right, we are doing great. I knew this would happen.
I love it. I was hoping it would because I'm like, that Cologne guy, an intellectual like myself, we should have something. Totally get it.
I'm not sure if Jaime's laughing with us or at us. Okay,
I think he's laughing at me. I'm pretty sure.
No, come on, you are.
Yeah, I knew it. It had gone out just right. I knew mute. Okay, so what else do you have on your number 5, Dr. Ben?
So my number 5 is tied, with A Voice from Beyond, as we said. And then the other one is, another one I really, really like is season 6, episode 5, and it's called Shadow of a Doubt. But you remember this one as the one where the guy is rowing, and he was accused. I think he's the ex-boyfriend, if I'm not mistaken, ex-husband. I can't remember, but a partner of a woman. And she knows correctly, he beats her up, or she knows something about him, I think is what the deal is. And he's going to that's what it is. He's going to go to court. soon. And it was either a crime against her or she knows something that can get him in trouble. I can't quite recall, but and so what he does is he commits this crime. He takes her out, and then what he does is he goes to this lake and he goes fishing, and he videotapes himself on purpose. And it's the most awkward, right? He's just talking to this camera and like, well, guys, I guess I'm just fishing. I mean, it's the most awkward forced thing you've ever seen.
It's the worst alibi ever.
It's the worst alibi.
It's his own worst alibi.
It's from the early 90s, and so it's got the timestamp. Right.
Yeah.
So that's his alibi, because he just gives the police this tape. And then, so what they do is,
it was the first thing he gave them when they knocked on the door. He goes, "Hey, I got this. You want to watch this?"
Exactly. So, I mean, how forced is that? And so they end up doing, they bring in some scientists and they analyze the shade from him with regard to the sun to show that he altered the timestamp, and that had nothing to do with the sun. And it's the level as where he was in the lake. So
see, I'm in the wrong profession right now. I tell you guys, as y'all talk about this stuff, I'm like, that needs to be me finding all the details. And
I know it.
Like, are you really telling the truth? I don't think so. Let me prove you.
So what's so funny is I'm watching these. What I do is I watch Forensic Files on my way home. I mean, I have my eyes on the road, but it's playing in the background. And so I'm like, Kate, look, this is what you need to be doing. Computer Forensic Files. You know how many crimes you could solve?
Yeah.
They just opened a new school over here at ISU. You could send him up here. We'll keep an eye on him.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I would love for him to do that so that I can live vicariously through him.
When was it, Doc? It was like 2 years ago, right? Just open.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep. It's been very recent.
Really recent.
3.
Y'all,
might even been 3.
Has me rolling. Hi, y'all shitty people.
Hey, can't you just imagine Sandy driving, listening to Peter Thomas narrate the Forensic Files?
Oh my gosh. Cade pops in his earbuds and he's like not having any of it. But I'm like, look,
here's what I want. I want an app in which they use Peter Thomas's voice for Sandy's car as the GPS.
Oh, so that would be amazing.
When she's driving around Lubbock, he'll go like left and then a right.
Oh, he's so awesome. And just so you guys know, Peter Thomas is the narrator, and y'all, he has passed. And so it breaks my heart. All the good ones, all those good voices.
He passed away in 2016. So the first time I watched the show, right, this will show my age maybe, but the first time I saw the show, I immediately recognized his voice as the voice of Nova, right? So he gained fame for a
the
PBS
series.
Show. Yes, that's him.
Oh, no way.
So I was like, wait a minute, no way. So I was immediately drawn in because I was a huge Peter Thomas fan, right? The fact that the show's awesome, along with him, and little known fact, by the way, I don't know if you know that not every episode is narrated by him.
Right. There are some
specials
you can catch.
Yeah, and it's weird because for the true crime folks out there, I know you agree. So much of this is tied into the person that narrates, because the specials are good, but they're not excellent, right? Because so,
and it's the same with the Unsolved Mysteries. Like there was just a different there's a couple of different narrators, and right now they don't even have a narrator. So
gosh, yeah. Well, Robert Stack, as we said, is I mean, the
I always remember him from Caddyshack.
Oh yeah, actually, I saw him recently in a '70s movie, and it's funny because I was like, Unsolved Mysteries. So
yeah,
that's so funny. Okay, so I'm gonna go with my number 5, and so you guys, if you just type in like the title that I'm gonna give you, and then Forensic Files, it'll pop up whatever it is that we're giving you, so that you can watch them if you want to, because I feel like you will want to. So my number 5 is Pet Rock, and so this involves this young lady. She's 28 years old, and she's in Palm Beach, Florida. She doesn't show up to work one day, and the reason, or 2 days in a row, and the reason that this caught them is because she's never missed a day of work. Mm-hmm. So anyway, they go out and they look for her. Mm-hmm. And anyway, they don't find her car in her parking lot. Her apartment is impeccable. It's a real neat person. And they check her answering machine, and her answering machine says, hey, we've got some suspicious, these were fraudulent alerts before fraudulent alerts were cool. They've got some suspicious activity on your credit card. So now they have like some sort of timeline that they've established on when she went missing. And anyway.
Sus,
huh?
They were sus.
Yes, they were sus. I think I even typed sus in one of my little write-ups that I did. So anyway, so they're looking for her, and all of a sudden a 911 call comes in, and they're like, there's a body in the canal. So they end up, figuring out that it's her through dental records. And so what's crazy about her body is that it's been wrapped up in a pink sheet. She's got her hands and her feet are tied with a dog leash, a power cord, and a belt. So she's got all sorts of wrappings wrapped up about her. And so when they start unwrapping her, they find the two power cords are really weird, something they've never seen before.
I remember this one.
They figure out that these are called heat rocks, and they are what heats a snake, cold-blooded animals.
Yeah.
And so anyway, they also find on her body.
Use those, by the way, everyone. Don't use those for your.
Don't use those. Okay. Well, they didn't. They just used them to murder this lady, so it's fine.
Oh,
and so anyway, they also find black hair on her body. So they're profiling. They're like, okay, this person owns a black dog. This person has a reptile. And they also have like a 36-inch waist. So anyway, neighbors never heard anything. So, a few days are passing by, and the police are noticing that every time they interview, there's this Luis Caballero that keeps popping up, and he's all up in the interviews. No, she was quiet. No. And he's always referring to her as in past tense.
He's like a neighbor. He's interviewed like on camera by reporters, right? Yeah.
Every news station that is constantly, and he's constantly in all of those interviews.
Yeah.
So anyway, so what makes it suspicious is that he references her as in past tense, because they're like, well, they've not released that she's dead. Anyway, so they obtain a warrant, and
rookie
mistake, injecting yourself in the crime.
Yep.
So they notice he's got like this huge violent pornography collection. They find that he has a boa constrictor. They find that he owns a chow. And anyway, what sticks out to me in this case is that Denise had the wherewithal to leave her gym card,
business card, or that's what it was,
gym card under a box. Like she hid it out because he maintained that she had never been in his apartment. Anyway, so forensics does their stuff. End up finding that there's 3 men. But yes, had she not left her gym card in there, they would have not have tied.
I'm sorry, hold on. I got kind of lost. You said hit the gym card where?
She hid it under a box. So what they established was that she had been tied up in his apartment while he went and spent her money. He was withdrawing money from her.
Hold on, but where was the box at? I'm sorry.
So what happened was he had a roommate too, right? And so they both started to fight, turn on each other, and so when she was tied up in his bedroom, Luis's bedroom. Right. Okay. He or they both, the roommate too, probably go out to take her money from her because she gives them the code, the PIN. Okay. And so while she's tied up, she reaches into her pocket and takes out her gym pass and throws it under the bed, I think, or somewhere. She puts it somewhere.
Under a box. Yes.
A box.
Okay.
So that way the police can find it.
Right. Okay. Now I understand. Sorry.
So that's what made it memorable for me. And so the detective says her putting that box was crucial in placing her in that apartment. And so that's how they were able to solve it. Yeah, super smart. And the fact that, she knew more than likely that she was going to die. So she left that evidence there. You know, how awful is that in your last moments? Yeah. But anyway.
But you're like, if I'm going down, I'm going to make sure you're going to go down afterwards.
Yeah, he's going down too. God. Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, Pet Rock, Forensic Files. That one is my number 5. Did you already do your number 4, Dr. Ben?
No.
Perfect.
My number 4 is season 13, episode 7, and it's called Last Dance. And it's the guy in the East Coast. I think it's New Jersey somewhere. It's out in the East Coast, and he's a guy who's married, and he goes to strip clubs. And this is the one where I don't know if you remember this one, but his wife is perfectly fine with it, and she actually goes with him. That's very odd, right?
She goes with him to the strip club.
She would go with him to the strip club on Friday, and then she would leave. And he would go. Yeah, he would get
people are okay with certain things. You know what I mean? It's like, okay.
Apparently so. And he would spend the weekends near this strip club, and so he got to be a regular, and it
was like what was that old guy's name? Remember, Norm?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's exactly how he was, only he was wealthy, so he felt like he was important, but he wasn't. So he this is the episode where he goes back to the hotel across the street from the strip club. He forgets something, so he goes back to the club. I don't remember what keys. I don't remember what it was. And one of the dancers, the one that he fancies, sees him and says, "I'll walk you back because you're drunk," right? And so she meets her demise. And this is the one where he throws her out of the hotel. This is so bizarre. He throws her out of the window between like 2 or 3 in the morning of his hotel room. He throws her out. Then he puts her in the back of his truck, in the bed of his truck, right? And he
didn't want to take the stairs.
He drives to like the Jersey Turnpike, whatever. I don't know my terms, okay? But he drives across to like Connecticut, and so he goes under the camera of the turnpike, right? That's the checkpoint, and so the camera actually shows the corpse in the bed of the truck. So, and then he throws her off the bridge and then turns around. So I guess the moral of the story of this one is, if you're going to, get rid of a dead body, don't cross state lines and don't go through a toll. Don't take a tollway where there are cameras.
Don't be suspicious.
Right. Or at least cover it up or something.
This one blows me away in both ways, right? The fact that he throws the dead body out of the window, no one catches that, and then the reason why
dark, right?
Well, it knows 2 or 3 in the morning, but I mean, a couple people just said they heard a thud, but no, it didn't occur to you.
Anytime I've ever been in a hotel room, I always hear every single thing. I hear conversations.
Exactly.
And I'm like, how do you just hear a thud? There's glass breaking. I'm calling somebody.
Pretty much. And so
there's a term for that, and I can't remember what it is right now, but basically it's like you hear someone screaming out in public for dear life, and everybody hears it, but no one does anything. There's no phone calls to the police. There's no rush to save them. And the idea is, yeah. That's it. The idea is that I don't want to get involved, but someone else will because it's so blatantly obvious.
Yeah.
This one has to be on the top 5 only because some of these criminals are kind of rather adept, and this guy is just not a real experienced criminal.
And so that's why I always think anytime I watch these that they catch them, I'm like, thank goodness they were dumb. I mean, I appreciate that because the detectives don't have to do it.
Because I should have said his argument was that that she, if I remember correctly, that she took a stroll along the bridge and then she committed suicide. She jumped off, and they showed that she had that was not the case because she was bleeding. There was blood along the railing, and so it was clear that she had already been injured before she jumped, or before he said that she had jumped. And that is number 4 for me.
Okay, so my number 4, the name of it, and I'm not as good as Dr. Ben. He wrote down episodes and seasons, and I did not.
I wrote them down because I have a very poor memory, unlike you. So we're offsetting here our strengths.
So this one is called Plastic Fire. And so this one stood out to me because this lady was driving with her mom. She got distracted, went down an embankment, and she tries to turn off the car. The car doesn't turn off. And so she finally is able to pull the keys out of the car and drops them in her desperation to get out of the car and get her mom out of the car. So anyway, she runs to the passenger side to get her 82-year-old mother out, and the door is jammed. So she tells her mom, I'm coming right back. But her mom's not responding at this point. So she runs up the embankment and she flags down a car. They call. And so she looks back down, and then now the car's starting to smoke. There's smoke coming from the car. So anyway, police on the scene and everything, they start investigating. Yeah. And the door to the gas tank is open and the gas cap is missing. There's like no, they're already doing all the research. There's no carbon monoxide or whatever's in Rita's lungs. And they're like, well, was she dead before the accident? So it's starting to look suspicious, right?
Right.
So her husband is they allege that he said, well, we're going to get $100,000 from the car insurance, not life insurance, but from car insurance. So anyway, but even then her cause of death was not ruled a homicide, but they still went ahead and charged the daughter with arson and murder. So prosecutors said she killed her mom to collect money from the car insurance based on the statement that the husband said. And so the prosecution's arson specialist comes in and says, oh yeah, look at the burn pattern here. There was an accelerant that was used. Anyway, she's found guilty, guys, and she goes to jail for arson and murder. Anyway, so Sheila's super upset at the verdict because she knows she didn't kill her mom. And so she's sentenced to prison. She's there for 10 months. And so she even looks around and she's like, I wanted to slit my wrists because of this. I was ready to die. But then a peace came over her. And she said that she prayed that maybe she was meant to be in the situation to help others. So anyway, so Sheila has the wealth of support and family members that believe that she's innocent because she loved her mom. And so they help her hire an independent fire investigator. So he's pretty outspoken about the arson specialist that was on there because he also was I'm trying to think of the term. He was also on Ford's, because the car was like a Ford car. I can't remember what the make and model, a Ford Cougar. And so anyway, he was also on the arson board or the fire board for Ford. And so Ford at that point had they had to do a recall because their ignition switches had been catching on fire. So anyway, he was on that board, and he also happened to be the prosecutor's star witness. So when I'm looking at this, when I finally realized, I'm like, well, of course he was going to say it was arson because it was not in his best interest to accuse Ford of this fire.
Exactly.
Anyway, so the prosecutors did not actually look at the ignition switches, and the serial numbers matched the ones that were recalled, even though that specific car wasn't recalled. Anyway, so she gets out of jail after she goes to court a second time. They overturn it, and then the prosecutors say, we're going back to court. So they go back to court a third time to get her convicted of arson and murder and all this stuff. Anyway, she's released from prison. She is not found guilty of her mom's murder and arson, but I just was like overwhelmed with this because I'm like, they kind of are like leading you like, yeah, she did hate her mom, but then you find that they didn't use all these specialists that were correct or whatever. But anyway, so that one sticks out in my mind because she actually went to prison for it.
Exactly. No, it really makes you think, and that's the great thing about the show, right? Is how many people are saved and or caught because of forensics.
Yeah.
Agreed. I mean, honestly, you guys know from language and probably heard, right? It's very easy to get somebody to confess. Actually, many people will confess to crimes they never committed because they want to get out of there. And so you're right. And so forensics is so key to ensuring that the right person goes to jail, and then, like in her case, she gets out of jail.
Yeah, for sure. And then a couple of comments. Get yourself a tarp if you're thinking about going across the state.
Yeah.
Bed cover.
Have it ready just in case, right?
That guy was so brazen. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I have a murder case for you here in Austin, Texas. The toll camera pics caught the killers. They had the dead body sitting in the passenger seat.
God,
honestly, these cameras pick up everything unless you really want them to, and they don't. And then Sean is kind of shocked.
Maybe they don't know that the cameras are around the city or something.
Well, I didn't do this, but I almost considered including a couple. One was a convenience store, but a couple of episodes in Forensic Files where the store camera didn't work, because how frustrating is that, right?
Yeah.
How many times do you watch these true crime shows and they'll say, well, the company actually has a security film footage, but it wasn't working that day, or right, or somebody recorded one of the Forensic Files was that it was recorded over, and I'm thinking, okay, how many times is this going to happen? So
it's like the McDonald's ice cream machine, always broken.
It's always broken
when you need it.
I mean,
okay, your number 3.
My number 3 is Smiley Face. Smiley Face is season 13, episode 21. Can't read my own writing. It might be season 12, but I'm pretty sure it's season 13. Either way, it's called Smiley Face. And you'll remember this one because it was in Maine. And this is one where a woman is killed and they suspect. And there's a smiley face on the wall in blood.
Yes. Okay.
So the prime suspect is called in to the police station. This still blows me away, actually. And he asks, you probably remember the part where he actually asked for a job application. He asked, even though he's the prime suspect, he's like, are you guys, I'm looking for work. I mean, you guys need any hiring? So, it gets more bizarre. So he turns in the application later with a smiley face on it. So they assume it's him, right? Because smiley face and blood. And he also showed up to mourn her. He kept showing up each day, and he had like a statue, a figurine or something. He's an oddball, so he had something on his car, in the car. I don't recall, but maybe it was like a candle. I don't know, but he would show up all the time to mourn her, and like you guys were saying about injecting yourself into the crime, right? Scene, and so they assume everything about this speaks to this guy. He was a complete oddball. He was showing up to the scene daily. On top of it, he put a smiley face on a job application at the police department. And then it turned out when they were able, at the end of the episode, and they were able to do the forensic studies, it was not him.
What?
And I'm thinking, what is the likelihood that somebody would put a smiley face on a job application not knowing? Because if I remember correctly, it was somebody out from outside the state. That he didn't even know that a smiley face was put on. I mean, what is the likelihood there, right?
It's so crazy because you're like, bam, we got him.
Everything walks you to this guy. I mean, everything, right? Complete Looney Tunes, off his rocker, and it's not him. So
I remember that. So some of these are like, and I've got one that's coming up, but that's kind of like, okay, this one is it. This one's, they're like, go like 3 or 4 suspects, and you're like, oh, none of them are it.
Well, I bet you did this too. For me, this show has over 400 episodes, right? So what I tried to do was pick some of them that are representative of a lot of the famous, real popular episodes. So,
So I just went about like the ones that. You wait till I get to my number 1. It's just like the audacity of people. So let me catch up on some comments real quick. So Joanne says, bottom line, don't murder people. Go outside and beat the yard or the tree. Vent that away.
But if you did that, Sandy wouldn't have a show.
I know.
Why would you wish that, Joanne? I mean, come on, let's be practical.
Or the video is of poor quality. Yeah, great point. Because there's always that one too.
There's one right now that I'm following where they have the guy coming up shooting the lady, but because it's so grainy, you can't tell who it is. It's awful.
That should not be happening.
It's weird.
That should not be happening.
I like the term that people say is like, man, we can take photos of the surface of the moon and the sun and Jupiter and Uranus, but you can't get a clear picture of a UFO, Bigfoot, or the murderers.
Yep.
Yeah. And here we go.
Walmart parking lot, and it's not going to happen.
I think convenience stores need to use game cameras. Matt's game cameras are good enough to see the brain activity of the deer.
Exactly.
Not really.
Exactly.
But at least
Carrie,
we can make
agree.
up that it's not Sasquatch trying to buy those Virginia Slims because he's bougie. Smiley faces on job applications. No smiley faces on job applications.
Yeah, especially at the police department where they're interviewing you as their prime suspect.
Exactly. Money comes in, then goes out the door. Not worth the afterlife of living you know where. For sure. I agree wholeheartedly. Like, no, it's not even worth it. Like, you did all that.
People believe in that, right? If people believe in that, they're just kind of like, whatever. I don't like them anymore. I don't like their face. I think I'll take it off.
Yeah.
Looks better on me.
Right. Okay. So, I lost track. Where are we? Is it?
That was my 3. So now it's your turn for your 3.
Okay. So my number 3 is called Last Will. And this is a 17-year-old girl, Sherry Smith. Yep. She was abducted 700 feet from her house. Okay. So her dad's sitting in his office doing something, and he sees her drive up. He sees her check the mail. And so he's waiting for her to come in, and he's doing stuff. And so few minutes later, when she hasn't come in, he's like, what's going on? So he goes out to the mailbox and her car's still running. Her purse is still in there. And he calls his wife and he's like, something's happened. They call the police and they're like, immediately there's a manhunt. And so 2 days after she was abducted, they get a phone call. And this phone call is like, I need to speak with Sherry's mom. I don't remember her name. Mm-hmm. Anyway, in order to prove that he did abduct Sherry, he describes the bathing suit. She was coming home from a pool party, describes the bathing suit that she was wearing and tells her, yeah, well, she's still alive. Anyway, he says, you're going to be receiving a letter in the morning. So police are like, they're intercepting the mail. They find the letter, and Sherry did write the letter. And the letter was titled, this is Last Will and Testament. So in the letter, she tells them that she loves them. She asks them, don't let this ruin your lives. Good is going to come. Something good is going to come from this. And so she also requests that her casket be closed because this kid knew that she was not going to make it home alive at 17 years old. Wait. And so does it sound familiar?
No. It sounds odd. She wrote this. Like
he made her write this letter.
Oh, okay.
He made her write this letter. Her abductor made her write this letter.
Oh man.
So anyway, so they send the letter off to forensics. The abductor calls again and he speaks with Sherry's mom and lets her know that she will know if Sherry's alive in 2 to 3 days. He calls again and tells her this really weird crap that says, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, Sherry is mine. We are now connected. We are now one. 5 days after the abduction, he calls again and he speaks with Sherry's sister and his mom. And he says something like, it was 4:58. And then he's like, no, it was 3:58. He gets confused on some times. And then he tells her that, and then he hangs up on her, and then he calls again, and he's given her like this thing, go here, go 5 miles here, turn here, and then go to the back. You're going to find something. And it was Sherry's body. And so what investigators were led to believe was that he accidentally told him the time that she had died. She only lived 12 hours after the abduction, but he was trying to kill time, no pun intended, to basically find her corpse, but it was already it's decomposing, so they wouldn't find any physical evidence on her.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Sandy, if I may, if I remember this episode correctly, wasn't this the guy that called? He would taunt them as well, yes, didn't he?
Yeah. So he kept calling him. So
he would play with their emotions.
Yes. Even after the funeral, he calls and talks to Sherry's mom, and he's like, "Hey, do you remember old Deborah Helmick? A little 8-year-old girl he abducted 24 days later."
Yeah.
So then
what?
And you hear the phone calls on that episode. It's
creepy. Those voices are creepy. His voices.
This was in the 80s, I think, and so there was no caller ID.
No, right? And then if you wanted to trace the phone call, it was like the person had to be on the line 15 minutes. Well, he was never on the line 15 minutes.
Right. So just imagine, it's just surreal hearing this.
Yeah, it is surreal. So then he so this is what I like about it. So she had written on this yellow pad. So then, this is sent off to forensics, and this is when forensics does a breakthrough. So they use this electrostatic detection apparatus to read the indentations that she wrote on. So she, to see if maybe there was some indentations on the paper that she had used above. And sure enough, there's like a list of phone numbers.
Yep.
And so they call one phone number in particular, and he's like, well, my parents live there. Anyway, so they go to this house, looking for this couple that lives at this house. And turns out those people there had just gotten back. They'd been away for 6 weeks, but they had a guy house sitting. So then they play the recording, and he's like, hey, that's, what's his name? Larry something. He said, that son of a bitch was here, was house sitting my house. So anyway, they end up finding the house sitter, and he's the one who had killed both the girls. But it was because of that forensics, that new technique that they used that was able to solve the crime.
Yeah, because he or she had ripped off the paper.
Yes.
And then underneath, like on the notepad, so the next sheet had the indentation of the writing with information of the previous sheet. Okay.
Yes. And so another thing too is that guy he'd been involved in various sexual crimes, and he was sentenced to death by electrocution for Sherry's death, and then in a separate trial he gave the same sentence. Given the same sentence for the little 8-year-old girl. And the mama wrote a book. If y'all are like into books, The Rose of Sherry is the name of the book that she wrote. Yeah, super, super sad and interesting case just because of the forensics that they used on it. So,
and what was the name of the title again?
This one is Last Will.
Last Will, and then the book was A Rose.
The Rose of Sherry.
Of Sherry. Okay.
And so we've got a couple of comments here. Let's see. Joanne says, I think I have to check you, Jamie, after that comment. What exactly do you mean? You need a spanking. Haha.
I know what she's talking about. I don't even know what she's talking about.
Minnie says that dang neighbor, always the dang neighbor. But yeah, he was using their house to commit his crimes.
Do dirty work.
Okay.
Oh, he just like lowered the value of that home, huh?
You know what? I thought the same thing. I'm like, did they leave? I wonder if they moved.
They definitely moved.
I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't do that. I'd be like, oh my god. But how do you sell it to? Anyway, yeah. There should be like a special fund for people like that. You know what I mean? Like, help them get out of their homes, sell their homes, burn it down.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. No, it's weird because, in fact, was it last year? Chris, what's his name? The guy that in California that killed.
Chris Watts.
Watts. Yeah, there's. I saw where there was a guy who, on his motorcycle, actually, he went and just drove over to the house, and it's just sitting there. It's empty, and it has all these flowers on the front porch. The people leave each, once a week, whatever. And I'm thinking, like, it's so weird to see that, right? I mean, it's not sold. It's not like you guys said.
It's such a nice house.
It's such a nice house. What do you do there? It's just really weird and eerie is the word I was looking for, right? When it comes to seeing this empty house.
I agree. All right, Dr. Ben, what's your number 2? We're getting close to one.
We are, and I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like we're going to share one of the two. Maybe, okay, but we already have 2 in common, so we'll take that.
We do.
My number 2 is a great one, and it is A Bitter Pill to Swallow, and it is season 7, episode 10, and you guys will remember this one if you've seen it. Because this is the one, I like this one for many reasons, but one reason is that the victim lives, and so she's part of the episode. She talks about it. This is the one where she doesn't get married, I think. She gets pregnant by the man of her dreams, and he is in the medical field. I think he's a doctor. He's a prominent figure. Mm-hmm. Charismatic, good looking. She feels like this is Prince Charming, and I think he either is married or going to be married, but so for him, this is his side chick. Mm-hmm. And for her, this is her knight in, shining armor, her Prince Charming. And so she gets pregnant and right at the time he's ready to end it. So this is the episode where he poisons her and she gets sick and she's pregnant, mind you. And so she has the wherewithal to realize he's dropping things in her drink. And she tells the police, and so it's if you've seen the episode, it's that famous scene where they show the police
cameras, right?
The camera, in like a statue at the top of her kitchen cabinet.
Yes.
And it's looking right down, and she completely tricks him, right? He falls for it totally. And so she leaves the room, and she's playing like she has no idea, of course. And sure enough, I mean, the guy puts the poison right on in, and then immediately, meaning the whole time the police are in the garage, so they walk in, arrest him, and then they point right to the camera, and he just gives a look like, oh my god, I mean, I'm done for. And so I enjoy it for so many reasons, because number one is you actually see it happening. Number two is you get the victim's perspective, because she's, obviously she survived. Yeah. The unfortunate problem for me, the unfortunate incident of the episode is that she does lose the baby later on. And so they were never able to convict him, of they were never able to say 100% that he caused that, because it was later on. But obviously I think he did, but we'll never know. But either way, he is behind bars, and that is my number 2, A Bitter Pill to Swallow.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one was a good one. It's so strange, you know, like you said, to have a survivor on one of these episodes.
Yeah. So, and not only that, but to catch him in the act, and
crazy.
It is crazy, and how every day, you know, nonchalant he was about it.
You know,
even when the police walk in.
I mean, and that what was that one Sandy we did where it was kind of similar, where the police go in asking the guy questions, and then when they leave, they're like, "I'm gonna catch you, or I'm gonna find you, or pin it on you."
Oh yes, that was the oh shoot, I'm trying to think. I know exactly.
It was Unsolved Mystery on it, right? The
because
wife was at the hairdresser. She was.
It's Marroquin. It's that one, Reina Marroquin.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
and then he offs himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what I was going to say was that, you know, it's crazy because in this day and age, we have what we call in the IT world, we call them IoT, or Internet of Things. And so you have home ability to wire your home with cameras wirelessly, put cameras everywhere. Your phone's picking up everything. I mean, everything is connected now. And so for you to do some silly stuff in your home or a person's home, like, you have no idea. You know what I mean? Like, that Ring bell will just start recording you when you come through the front door acting nice to get in. And then, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, my point is that you think you're being sly when you're doing something.
And you're not.
Like this guy, you're not.
And you are not.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you got caught. But, and so this is a double-edged sword. It's like, don't tell that to people because you want them to get caught. But then you're like, but if you tell them, then maybe they'll not do it.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. That's why I really appreciate how much law enforcement, like in Dateline in these shows, right? How much they do share of the secrets of their trade. Because I agree, you think some of these criminals would take note, but I think they're just so, you know, spontaneous.
I think in that moment you forget everything that you watched
I think they're just fly by the seat of their pants types. So it's not going to matter.
So Minnie says, I love that new technology is able to solve old crimes as long as the evidence is preserved. Yes, and that's the thing. The evidence in this is so crucial. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So my number 2 is one of those that has us going everywhere. Like, it was you. Oh, no.
Okay.
Nay. So this one is called Room with a View. And this is in Jacksonville, Florida. This 25-year-old Corey Parker, another one that missed a shift. Her employer sends a coworker, hey, go check on her. And he looks in the window and she's completely covered in blood.
What? And
they come in, forensic comes in, and they say she was stabbed 101 times. You know, a little bit of overkill, don't you think?
Her, right?
Mm-hmm. And so the thing is she'd been out with friends the night before, and they find a Zippo lighter, and she was a smoker, but they were like, no, she didn't have a Zippo. That was not hers. There was no fingerprints on it. There were some bloodstains that were found on the sink in the kitchen window, and that's what they believed he used as his entry and escape route. And so she has a coworker. His name's Eric, and he's obsessed with her, and he was constantly asking her out. And he said, I've had sexual fantasies of raping and killing women.
Yeah, that's right.
He even said, well, if I'd have killed Corey, this is what I would have done. I'm like, freaking OJ Simpson. What in the OJ is going on here? So anyway, so you're just like, close and shut case, right? Guess what? Eric was ruled out as a suspect. It was not him. So anyway, she has a new boyfriend that she's dating, and he actually was with his parents during all of this. He was actually out of state. And so he's ruled out as a suspect. And then they interview all of the friends that she was out with the night before. And Tiffany has the most important news here. So she's like, I called her at 2 a.m. and we talked. And so then they're like, oh, okay. So then they pull phone records. She's like, I drove at 4 a.m. by her house, but she didn't answer the door. And they're like, well, that's putting her right at the scene. So she's like, I was there. So then it turns out she tells the detective, well, I'm bi-curious and I really had a lot of feelings for her. And so she describes the scene and some stuff that wasn't released to the public. So you're like, man, this is her. But anyway, so in the meantime, they've done the analysis on the DNA that was found, and it belongs to a male. So guess what? Tiffany is ruled out too.
And Tiffany has kind of an intense look about her, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, she does. Yeah. And so I'm like, all right, it's Tiffany. Tiffany did it. And then you see they found the Y chromosome in there, and you're like, no. So anyway, and the reason that Tiffany knew some of these details that weren't released to the public yet was because she was friends with the guy that responded on EMS. So he had told her some of the stuff that they saw. Mm-hmm. So anyway, they put out a $20,000 reward, and y'all know when they put those rewards out, people come out of the woodworks. So they got a tip. This tip was that there was this guy that worked at a steakhouse who had come in acting really weird, really strangely, and said, my son he died in a car accident. So his coworkers take pity on him, and they start putting money into this jar so that he can go see his son and bury his son. And so anyway, they collect the money. The manager takes it over to his sister, and his sister says, he doesn't have a son. He doesn't have a son at all. So they're like, well, that's suspicious. And so anyway, turns out that he actually had the room that looked right into Corey's room. And he lived there with his sister, but his sister had kicked him out because he was really freaking weird. Okay. He had like this porn collection. He even the sister porn collection.
Porn.
Oh, okay. It wasn't coming through.
Oh, okay. So, and the sister even said that she like woke up and he was like staring down at her, like super weird. His sister. He was looking at his sister. So she kicked him out. So anyway, she said that he would be watching Corey when she got in there, and Corey had no idea that she was being watched, but he would masturbate while he was watching her. So anyway, she kicked him out for that. Then investigators learned that he's got a brother in El Paso, Texas, who is in prison for stabbing a woman 97 times.
That's right. I forgot about that. And he was worried. And he was worried that that might be used against him.
Yeah. So anyway, so they still are not able to pin the murder on him, even though they have all this evidence, because he won't give them a DNA sample. So he meets this woman who's like 52 years old. He convinces her to let him go live with her and the husband. So they have this, they're like 800 miles away. I can't remember where he went to live with her. So he is having the sexual relationship with this married woman, and the husband has no clue that they're doing this. And so they go over there to interrogate him some more, say, you're a suspect. Well, he's smoking this whole time, but he puts his butts out and then puts them in his pocket. And then they're like, hey, are you thirsty? And he's like, He said, y'all are just trying to get my saliva. Anyway, so he's not budging. He's not licking the envelope or anything that they're putting in front of him. So,
Doesn't he spit? Isn't that? Does he spit on the sidewalk? Is that how? Okay.
So anyway, so they put him on surveillance, and they're surveilling him, and then he's like smoking, but he's putting all of his cigarette butts in his pocket. So he comes out one day, and it's been raining, and they notice that he spits. And they're like, okay, we're going to get this. And then he spits like 6 more times. So they're like, they scoop up all that spit. Yeah, they've never been so excited to see spit in their life. And so anyway, they scoop up the spit. DNA matches. That's his DNA that was in there. So this girl fought back. She pulled hair out. So they had root in the hair, not just, hair that had fallen out. Mm-hmm. And so he admitted to hiding in her closet. He attacks her. She fought back more than he anticipated. And so convicted of first-degree murder, sentenced to life. Here's the kicker. He was 17 years old when that happened. So he didn't get like a death penalty or anything like that. But he is in jail for life.
I'd forgotten that he was under 18. But I definitely recall that one. Yeah, because he was very adept at making sure they didn't get his.
Oh man, he had watched Forensic Files. He knew.
But I'll never forget the kind of like Smiley Face, right? They bring in this guy, Eric, I think you said, right? The friend. And you're thinking, okay, well, what kind of people does she know, right? Because he comes in.
That was a coworker.
They call him in. He's like, I have visions of, violently killing people. Don't you? And then it turns out he's not the.
Yeah. And it turns out that he had several mental health issues, and he wasn't on his medication at the time that he gave that testimony or, his confession or whatever.
Correct. Yeah. So again, forensics saved him.
So this is funny comment. So Joanne says, crazy is my take. And Renee says, so did he make sure he outdid his brother in stabbing numbers? Yeah. I mean, 101 versus 97. I won.
He did outdo his brother. Yes.
Did.
Was it some sort of sick game between them? I wonder, you know what I mean? Like,
that was one of the comments that they made. They were just like, it's crazy enough for a family to produce one murder, but 2 murders and in the same exact way.
Yeah. Creepy.
Interesting. That now is interesting.
Okay, go watch it.
Yeah, we need an episode. How many families have produced more than one serial killer?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I mean it does, because there's that whole conversation that goes on about like, nurture or nature. So are you nurturing a killer, or is it part of their nature? Are they born with it, or are they bred to be it? And so the idea that you have 2 siblings in the same family who committed very similar ones, and it could also be the one who started when the other one just had a chance of opportunity for that to come up and just imitated what was already there. And so
correct.
But that is intriguing to me.
So guys, we've made it to our number 1. Are you guys ready?
We need a drum roll or something.
I know. Where's the drum roll?
Hold on. I'll give you a.
Oh, really?
Oh, right.
Okay.
As good as I can do.
Hey, I'll take it. That's pretty good. So one of the things I love, besides, so Forensic Files, 3 things I absolutely love are, one, they tell you the 2 or 3 things in the beginning. Right. So that like I said, what got them caught. You just don't know who it is. And that's why you watch the episode. That's how they hook you. Peter Thomas, of course, the narrator we said. And then the third thing I really like is the play on words they have with titles. They're very actually witty with the titles of their episodes. And so number 1 for me has to be season 9, episode 12. And that one is Financial Downfall. And so this one is famous because it's just incredible what these criminals will do, because this is the one where a couple in California, they befriend a woman. So she's from the South. I think she's from maybe Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. North Carolina, maybe. She's from the Southeast, and she goes out because either her fiance or boyfriend is transferred to San Diego in the Army. In the military, and they break up, if I'm not mistaken. And so she kind of just finds herself out there, doesn't have any friends, no family, and so they befriend her. This married couple, they look to be maybe late 50s, we'll say, in their 50s, and they take her out and they take pictures of the day. And what they do is they show pictures by a cliff, and she's smiling, and they have their arms around each other. They're this couple and their friend. Then they go out to eat. And it's very clear that one of them has sedated her. They put something in her drink, because then they take more pictures by cliffs, and her face is completely withdrawn. I mean, he's actually holding her up. She looks completely different than she did an hour and a half or 2 hours before then. And so at that point, they take more pictures, and she falls off a cliff as an accident, right?
I heard of this.
Yes, and it actually, they're so, I mean, I'm glad they're dumb, but I mean, how stupid do you have to be? And
Joe and Sandy both went to a place like that.
Yeah, he pushes her off the cliff, and they have a picture essentially of him looking like as if it had just happened. And they take some more pictures later.
Took a picture of him right before.
Correct. In the act. And then she says at one point, she says something along the lines of the wife says something along the lines of like that wasn't me that took it or something. And kind of like the fishing story, they do the sun shadow study, right? And they and it's exactly her height. And so they show that she took a picture of him as he's pushing her off and as he's looking around, because in the picture he goes like this, his arm is out, but then he's looking the other way, which you would do if you were making sure that no one is around to see what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And then of course within hours she calls to see if, because you guessed it, because they befriended her and taking her under their wing, guess where her life insurance is? Let's see.
Not
would
me.
It be State San Diego, her mom or dad? No, it'd be them. And so the woman is already calling within hours to see about the life insurance.
Oh,
So
my
the police
gosh.
take the camera, and the camera is a picture by picture representation. Not representation. Evidence of exactly the crime. Yes. Of the crime being committed. And so this one is famous because it's either the first in California or the first ever where the entire jury had to go out and sit along the cliff as they heard more information about the case. Wow. And it just made me feel so terrible because, it left an impact on me because think about this, right? She moves to the other side of the country. Uh-huh. She breaks up, and that's the reason why she was there. Then she has no friends, no family. She was in her early 20s, I think. She seemed, they said in the show that she was very nice and a little shy. She meets these people. They say, let's take you under our wing and we'll do all these fun things. And so she gets her spirits back up again, and it's all just to get her money. And the kicker is she is afraid of heights, and so it was. Yeah, it was just terrible. But you can see in the pictures within 2 hours, right before eating and after eating, she was. Completely different person.
There's so many other insurance fraud ways to get money than killing someone,
and taking pictures. And the reason why she was so bold, the wife especially, was that she had done something similar. I don't remember if it was like a burned down a house. I don't remember exactly what it was, but she had done something. I already tried
a fire claim. It doesn't work as good as
she did either murder or try or something. She got money previously.
Oh,
and in fact,
she wanted to up the ante.
She did, and one of the reasons why they caught her, so it had to have been a life insurance, because they caught her because the amount of the life insurance for this recent victim was the exact same amount she had as the previous one, and she set it so low because it wouldn't call attention. So these people are not incredibly bright. And the good news is they both went to jail. The bad news is within like 2 or 3 months after the husband went to jail, he died of a heart attack. But at least he was convicted. But financial downfall is the one that is my favorite, just because I felt so bad for her. She just seemed so nice and so. I mean, on the one hand, people can say that she was naive. I guess she was naive to have her life insurance and somebody that is just a friend. But do you ever really suspect though that something terrible like that will happen? What a terrible thing to do.
I do. Now, Sandy.
Yes, we all do now because we've seen the show 406 episodes of them.
Yeah, and then go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say what's so crazy is how many episodes are for financial gain, for life insurance. I mean, there's just tons and tons of these cases that are on here.
Sandy always says it's money or sex. Those are the
money, sex, and
pride, maybe among family members. Is it money? That'd probably be more money.
I'll go for y'all's because this is y'all's world.
Yeah,
I have like a third one that I always say, and then I'm just like
there's a third. No, there's a third one. We'll think about it. You give your number one, and I'll think about it.
Okay, are y'all ready for this one? This one is going to blow your mind, just like it blew my mind. Okay, this one is called Freeze Framed, and like Dr. Ben said, these right here are. I love this title. So anyway, here we go. Okay, ready for this roller coaster? A wife calls in and says her husband's been drinking and he's locked himself in his room and he won't come out. So the police arrive and they find him dead. And they rule it a suicide. So they process the scene and it looks like he's ingested antifreeze. That was his method of suicide. And so, processing, they find a turkey baster with antifreeze in it, which is sus. Because if you're going to off yourself, you're not going to drip it to yourself, are you?
Maybe he wanted to make sure it goes far back in and
then drop it in the garbage in a different room.
Yeah, it's in a garbage can. So the wife is called in and she told them that they had just watched a true crime show where a woman killed her husbands using this method.
She told them that?
Yes. Yeah, I just watched this true crime show and but the thing is she didn't pay attention to this crime show because she kept calling it antifreeze, not antifreeze. She kept calling it antifree.
That's right. And then in the suicide note, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, so she's like, yeah, I just watched this episode. She used this antifree. So the detective's like, okay, antifree, whatever. So anyway, she was also able to tell the investigator the deadly ingredient in antifree, which, say it with me, ethylene glycol. If you're not a true crime junkie, you don't know that. You don't know that ethylene glycol is what kills you in the antifreeze. So anyway, they also find out, suspicious, that 5 years prior to her first husband, prior to this husband, her first husband died. But in that instance, she told the doctor that he had heart issues, so they didn't investigate it. 38-year-old man with heart issues, he died. Let's just bury him. So anyway, this poor lady,
must have been the
they also flash you to the cemetery where she's got the markers laid out. She's got her first husband's laid out. She's in the middle, and then she's got the new husband. Whack,
no.
whack,
Gall.
whack.
The gall of some of these people.
She's like, I'm gonna go ahead and take the two in back and the two in front also.
Yes.
I know.
So then this poor lady, another tragedy comes upon her. She makes another phone call to 911, and she reports that her daughter has now attempted suicide by ingesting pills.
Ah, yes.
Oh, that's so sad.
The daughter leaves a note and claims responsibility for the death of her dad, which was the first husband, and her current stepdad.
Yes.
And so the letter says, "Mommy, I did this for you. They think you did it, but it was me. Once they dug Daddy up, I knew that they would blame you." And at the time that her dad died, Ashley was only 12 years old. So investigators are like, could a 12-year-old really have plotted 2 murders by killing them with antifree?
We know now the answer is yes.
Yes.
Not for her, but yes.
Thankfully, Ashley survives. Okay, people? So when she wakes up from her comatose-like state, the investigators are right there, and they're like, did you write this letter? Did you try to kill somebody? And she's like, what are y'all talking about? They were like, well, this letter that you wrote, you said that you killed your dad and your stepdad. And so she says, well, I remember having a drink with my mom, and I remember being like super tired. And so they start reading this suicide letter to her. And in the suicide letter, it also says, I used antifree to kill them.
Oh.
So they're like,
ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding.
So anyway, the widow, so anyway, turns out that it was the wife. I know y'all are shocked to know that. The wife was the one who killed, and she tried to blame the daughter. To this day, she continues to blame the daughter. The daughter comes out and is like, I hate her.
Yeah.
And so this one was for money. The lady loved to live above her means. So she got $50K with her first husband, and she stood to get about $200,000 from her second husband. Y'all, this lady's cold as hell. I mean, she killed 2 husbands and then attempted to kill her daughter.
Her own child.
You have no soul. You have no conscience. You piece of crap. For
money is your soul. Money is your conscience.
Cold-hearted. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, when you were giving the summary there, I was thinking, would the third category be love, money, or revenge? Is the third one revenge?
It's love, money.
Well, revenge is sex.
Yeah, I think sex
Not
is in there.
necessarily, though, right? Love, sex, right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
because if you're cheating on someone and that person's burned because of sex, but I'm gonna let y'all define it because y'all know way more.
Yeah,
we'll think about it.
One of y'all know a lot more than the other 2 of us.
If I remember correctly, too, at the beginning of the episode, they knew that the husband had talked about suicide. Correct?
So here's what happened: is she started a story saying that after his dad died, that he just went on this drinking.
Or she suggested it or something.
She suggested it to make her story more believable. So premeditated as hell. She was crazy. But man, I draw the line. You're trying to kill your own kid and pin murders on your kid, man.
Yeah, think about how cold-hearted you'd have to be to even consider. And then on top of it, even after she survived, she didn't repent. I mean, she was just a cold-hearted.
still doesn't to this day, maintains her innocence. And so she drugged her daughter. She had put like medicine, sleeping pills, and all sorts of stuff. And so her daughter was like, yeah, it was really weird that after one drink, I just felt so tired.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, so this
all about that anti-free.
For real.
Anti-free.
And so the forensic on this one was that they looked at the computer, and the letter that she typed up, of course, had all the timestamps on it. The daughter was actually in school when she typed that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But y'all, that was my number one, because I thought, man, that is chilling to the bone.
Well, it really is. It really is. And what I would say about this is we have had 3 honorable mentions and a top 5. So that's 8 episodes. Out of 406 episodes, we gave 8 and we share 2. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. I like it. I think if we had time, we could do so many more, but we don't have enough time.
Wait a minute. I don't get to do my 5?
Oh, stop it. Stop it right now. Stop it. Because I specifically
I didn't
said,
like
Jamie,
the whole bouncing forth. I was like, I'll let them finish and then I'll go after they're done.
Okay, well, here we go.
We're all ears.
We're already way past.
We are way past.
Maybe another day.
Can I mention one more though that I thought might make it? I know we're over time, but the one I didn't catch the title or the season, but the one also that blew me away was the older guy who killed his wife, put her underneath the basement, got some cement, buried her.
Tried to kill his kids.
He put her under the basement, right? And then he put some cement over it. And then when months later, whatever, they went to arrest him. He was eating spaghetti, right? And when the cops come, they just asked him. They didn't even say why they were there, and he answered, "Can I just finish my meal before you take me away?" So he already knew. And then the kicker was they interview so it'd be his stepdaughter, if I'm not mistaken, at the end, and she reveals that her mom was terminally ill. So if he had just waited a couple more months, she would have died naturally, and he did not know that she had cancer. So that was one that would be my top 10, I think. But
yeah, so okay, I was confusing mine because I did one on a gentleman that killed his wife, buried her in the backyard, and the daughter witnessed it all, and then she didn't come back to her until like years and
had dreams
later.
That was outside cement, right? Yeah, that was like a garage or off to the side of the house.
Yeah, it was like a patio over her.
Yeah,
and she kept saying, "When is mommy coming back?" He's like, "Oh, she's just asleep."
Yeah,
I have to tell you, I told you before we started the show, I almost always watch the show when I'm doing dishes, and so this I never talk about the show to anyone, and so I just have to tell you how much fun I love you guys anyway, but I have had an extra amount of fun with talking for almost 90 minutes. My favorite Forensic Files. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. I truly have enjoyed this episode. Well, we might have to do a part 2 because Ms. Rocio says, Jamie, maybe a part 2. I'm curious about yours.
Okay.
And so y'all know Jamie has not watched one single episode of Forensic Files. This is the most he's heard about Forensic Files. And now he can't hear me, strangely enough. He's
Sandy,
kidding.
I want you to check out American Justice with Bill Curtis. Yeah,
okay,
Bill Curtis, because he's one of the big 3 with Robert Stack and Peter Thomas as far as fantastic true crime narrators. Bill Curtis is phenomenal.
Okay, I'm going to watch it. And Renee, thank you for tuning in and staying with us. Thank you to everybody who tuned in and stayed with us for this long. Sure didn't mean for it to go, but man, when you're talking Forensic Files, you can be on it for days.
406 episodes. We can't do it in 60 minutes.
I do want to show something real quick.
Okay.
I just want to see what it looks like. It'll give a nice preview for everyone.
Oh, is that what you've been working on?
Whoa.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So anyway, thank you, Dr. Ben, again. Thank you, producer, for coming on. And remember, guys, let's keep talking sheet.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one. Have a good Saturday.